It's not often that you get to really be creative in a regional shopping center. We think market leading systems in terms of governance, we're very strict on that. But in terms of the creative side, it's not often you get this opportunity. So we're very grateful for it and very, very excited.
Hello and welcome to the Real Good podcast by Neighbor Good, a podcast designed for the next generation of property entrepreneurs and investors, where our guests share with us their personal stories, their strategies, their tactics for all things entrepreneurial and property related. I'm your host, Murray Clark, and today we have with us Marc Edwards. Marc is someone I've got to know over the last few years, first in his role as CEO of Tower Property Fund, and now in something so exciting as he heads the charge in his new company called Hangar 18. Marc is someone who is an entrepreneur by its very nature. He's done so many things in his career. He is one of the most down-to-earth leaders I know. He's got a passion for social impact and entrepreneurship, and he shares so much value both in his entrepreneurial journey and in his personal journey as an entrepreneur, as a dad, and everything in between. Stay tuned and enjoy. Hello and welcome to the Real Good Property Podcast by Neighbor Good. It is awesome to see you all today. We have Marc Edwards with us, who is the CEO and co-founder of Hangar 18. He was the CEO of Tower Property Fund. He's a shareholder and director of Spire. He is a local fishhook boy, and he is here to chat to us in part two. Marc, welcome.
Thank you.
We chatted a lot about the formative stages of your career growing up. Someone who was in HR, who has become the CEO of a listed property fund, who's blown the kudu horn himself. Did you blow the kudu horn? Did you end up blowing it?
I did. I had. So when you blow the kudu horn at the JSC, there's an oak who's there for backup in case you can't blow it properly.
No way.
It's like funny. So there's like traditional dances and stuff that they make a big deal of it. It's very cool. And so we invited a whole bunch of people and to celebrate. But then the oak teaches you before 8:30, before you have to blow it. But then he sits there with a vuvuzela behind you.
No, wait, that's definitely not something you should be saying. Right?
No, and I said to him, listen, bro, you blow that thing
loud
until you pass out. So we gooied it, and I managed to blow it properly, but he was definitely the hero.
And as you blew it, the share price went up.
yeah, and then when I stopped, it came down, unfortunately.
Okay,
yeah.
Man, it's so refreshing to see you in civvies. I probably wear shorts at least 90% of the time.
Yeah.
But I'm doing my best in front of a camera to wear jeans at the very least and a Neighbor Good shirt. You've obviously come out of a specific part of your life, which was a lot more corporate.
Yeah.
Running Tower, which has obviously now been sold to RDC.
Yeah.
And you're looking at the next chapter of your journey, which I'm super excited about. And that is with Hangar 18, right? Tell us where the name came from.
Yeah, it's a cool story. So my colleague Travis Green, I like to name companies after superheroes. So Hulk and whatever. But Travis and Warren Lawler, Travis particularly is a bit of a metalhead, and he names companies after songs. So their business is Ferryman Capital, named after the song. And Hangar 18 was the name. I thought it was a shelf company. Like I said, we needed a shelf company for this venture. So Travis got the shelf company, and I thought Hangar 18 was a shelf company name. So I said to them on one call, I said, can we change the name to a superhero? And they were like, yeah, fine, but Hangar 18 actually means something. So I was like, oh, what does it mean? And so, Area 51 in the States, where
Yes.
where the aliens are meant to have landed. So Hangar 18 is a real hangar in Area 51, where the dead bodies are meant to be kept. The alien craft are meant to be kept. And it's actually a song by Megadeth. Yeah. So Travis called it Hangar 18. So it was, when I heard that, I was so pumped. I was like, wow, this is amazing.
That is insane.
Yeah,
Okay.
cool story.
So tell us how this all happened, because you were on a break, a professional break, right? I know you're still with Spire, and you're always someone who's creative, and you always be doing something. But one chapter ended, and within a year, I would say, another chapter has opened up. Like, talk me through the process that happened.
It was actually within a week. It was weird. I left. So RDC took over Tower. RDC is a Botswana-based business. They took over Tower and all the staff, and I stayed on for 6 months. But once you've kind of paddled your own canoe for such a long time, that freedom is very difficult to give up. So I left RDC in October 22.
Okay.
And had a great relationship with them. They're very good guys. And in like literally the week I left, I got 2 phone calls, one from a listed company who was just looking for some corporate advice, and one from a bank. And Warren and Travis, my partners, they had been Tower's corporate advisors since 2017. They were both originally Java Capital, and then they went into Ferryman Capital in 2017, and we became very good friends. And we bought a shopping center together in Fishhook, which we own, and that was a great experience. And when I got these 2 phone calls, they were mainly looking for corporate advice. So I didn't have any corporate advice experience. So I said to Warren and Travis, "Are you keen to help?" And they were. And that corporate advice then quickly presented opportunities to buy properties. And so with the relationships we had in the sector, the 3 of us put in bids on the Robosis properties, which were under business rescue at that time. Robosis went into business rescue in August of last year.
Okay.
And so we put in bids to acquire the retail portfolio, which is 5 properties. And that was in February of this year. A very public process. Robosis was under business rescue, so that has very strict rules and conditions. And the business rescue practitioner's plan to rescue the company was to sell all the assets.
Right.
And Robosis assets were 5 large shopping centers, and then about 25 or 30, I think it was, office buildings, mostly rented to government. And the office building government kind of tenant just wasn't our game. We didn't have those contacts. And so we put in a bid for the retail portfolio, which is all public. And I think that started in about March 23. And then each month, either more people were added or less people were added. And towards I think beginning of September, I was at the gym and I got a call from them. They said, "No, you guys have won it." And it was an amazing feeling.
Did you drop the bench press at the?
I was fortunately in the change room, I had to very quickly put my clothes on. And phone. Kim was the first person I phoned, and then I'd like thought for weeks about, if we got this phone call, what memes would I be sending to Warren and Travis? So I just memed them into a coma. Yeah, so
Okay.
it was a great feeling. Yeah.
Okay, congratulations.
Yeah,
It's amazing to see.
Yeah.
Tell us about the portfolio.
So it's 5 retail properties, which we paid 4 billion for, which is again public information. They are 3 regional centers, each of around 80 to 90,000 square meters. It's Bay West in Port Elizabeth, Hemingway's in East London, and those are both the biggest malls in their jurisdictions. And then Forest Hill in Centurion, which is another regional center, just on the N14. And then in Pretoria, 2 slightly smaller malls, kind of 28,000 squares each. And there was Blitz Street Mall, which is in Pretoria near the Union buildings, which is an interesting center. It's a commuter-based center with a taxi rank in the basement, but it's Pretoria's main taxi rank. So effectively, they've just built a shopping center on top of the taxi rank, so the foot traffic is
nuts,
incredible. And then Sunny Park, which is close to, it's in Sunnyside. It's about 5 km from Loftus, to kind of orientate it. So Robosis was placed under business rescue for various reasons. We didn't know the company. We knew them from the tower days, given that we were listed together, but we didn't know the assets at all. And we did a lot of work on kind of putting together the bid. We did a lot of due diligence, lots of ideas thrown around. And just for various reasons, COVID, business rescue, bad management decisions in some cases, the properties ended up being sold to us. But they extremely impressive buildings. The founder of Robosis and his team, you've got to take your hat off. Whilst they may have had problems along the way, I can really appreciate what they've built. It's extremely impressive. When you walk into the building and it's got an ice rink and it's got a bowling alley and it's got trampoline parks and the entertainment is off the charts. The idea seems to have been that they would, almost like Gateway in Umhlanga, the idea seems to have been like kind of build these large centers just outside of town, and then town would eventually grow around these centers. So the entrepreneurial ability to pull that together is incredible, in my opinion. And then it does seem like the market turned against them. Then COVID happened, and so for us now, we are taking these centers, and we have to. 3 of them are doing really well.
Mm-hmm.
One is doing okay.
Mm-hmm.
One is really struggling. So Forest Hill is half vacant. And if you've ever been to a half vacant shopping center, it's not like a half vacant office building. It's a weird feeling. It's almost like eerie. So the tenants are excited about the change of ownership, and you always get that honeymoon period, for the first 6 months. But we're going to have to deliver, and we're very excited to create. It's not often that you get to really be creative in a regional shopping center. Normally it's quite corporate. And certainly we come from a corporate background, so we have all of those checks and balances in place.
Yes.
We have, we think, market leading systems in terms of governance.
Yes.
We're very strict on that. But in terms of the creative side, it's not often you get this opportunity. So we're very grateful for it and very, very excited. So we've met with a whole bunch of the national tenants, reintroduced the team to them. We still haven't taken transfer. It's still under business rescue, but transfer should happen in the next month.
Okay.
We're led to believe. Then we're off to the races. Then we're going to play.
What do you do with a half empty center? I know you, as CEOs go, you're definitely one of the way more creative people that I've ever met. Like, where do you even start?
So I think what I've learned, a lot of the mistakes I made in the past have been over-promising and under-delivering. You should be doing the opposite. Warren and Travis are particularly good at not doing that.
Okay.
They come a corporate finance background, not in the property space, but not actually a property operating side.
Right.
Their operating side comes from our ownership of our center in Fishhook. And so to turn this portfolio around, the basics have to be done right first. You've got to be able to deliver to what you tell tenants. There's been a lot of management decisions, and I mean, having a property under business rescue is not an ideal situation. I mean, the business rescue practitioner has to freeze all expenditure. It has to be very bureaucratic in its approach because it has to try and save this business. And so we have to repair quite a lot of management mistakes,
right.
If you like, basic mistakes. Communication with tenants. We've given our cell number to all tenants. Like that was never the case previously. We particularly have said to all the national tenants, we're not really interested if we're doing stuff well. Tell us when we're doing stuff badly, please. We've kind of repeated the cliche in every meeting, but cliches are cliches for a reason because they're true. In retail, out of all the asset classes of property, in retail you legit are partners with your tenants. If they do well, you do well, vice versa. And so we've really presented ourselves as an open book.
Okay.
We're going to be focusing very intensely on doing the basics right, the management right, not tolerating people in spaces if they're just not paying.
Okay.
There's a couple of instances where we've had historically where people are doing great turnover, they just don't pay
Just don't
rent.
pay rent,
That
yeah.
kind of stuff, in our view, is
it's
unconscionable,
non-negotiable, yeah.
as Warren would say. And then in terms of being creative around Forest Hill and Bay West, you don't need to be too creative.
Yeah.
Often, like if you walked into the center now, you'd be, you're a very creative person. You're way more creative than I am. You would be like, okay, cool, this is what we need to do. And a normal shopper, I think, would also, 80% of shoppers would go like, okay, cool, we think you should have X, Y, and Z here.
Yeah.
We do think, though, you can't kind of incrementally change
Yes.
the nature of a regional shopping center. If you're going to change it, it has to be a large relaunch.
Yes.
You have to actually come up with a new product.
Yes.
So that's what we considering
thinking about at the moment.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for that more.
Which is your favorite?
Yeah, I'm drawn for some reason towards Bay West in PE.
Okay.
I think there's a massive opportunity there. If I go to the Eastern Cape, you see the amount of people that are moving there from Natal, from Joburg, from Pretoria, whatever. That semigration is a real thing.
Even in the Eastern Cape?
Yeah. Well, areas like J Bay,
Okay.
PE. So the center sits outside of PE towards J Bay. And it's very much an entertainment offering center. The other competitor centers don't have the same level of entertainment. For example, at the World Cup rugby now, it's got a very large kind of food court area with a very big screen. They had thousands of people coming to watch the final, and it was wonderful to see. So the audience is there. It's now just a case of making them stay. And the unique thing about centers of this size is you might have a large vacancy, but if you can concentrate that vacancy into an area,
yes,
it's manageable.
You can control.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So that is going to be the kind of initial approach.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you are someone who is now in the next chapter of their growth. This is really exciting. I cannot wait to see what happens with the centers, and I can't wait to visit them as well. How do you manage your day? Like, do you find time to sleep? You now have these 5 monster assets that you need to think about all day, every day with your partners. You are wearing civvies, which is different to what you were wearing a year ago when you were still at Tower.
Yeah.
How has your life changed in the private space?
Look, I think we've got the best team ever. Like the senior, we're employing all of the center-based staff of these centers, and we've met them all multiple times, and they're wonderful. Our head office staff is the 4 of us. It's Warren, Travis, myself, and Dean Grant, who's just a legend. And we very much support each other. You've got everyone thinking about the same problems, so you don't feel isolated at all. So whilst we're definitely busy, it's ramping up now as it kind of gets prior to transfer. The business rescue practitioners allowed us. We've had competition commission approval, so the business rescue practitioners allowed us to get much more involved. And so we're getting busier and busier and busier. We purposely try to keep the team as small as possible because we want to understand every transaction that goes through these properties, just like as you would a house.
Yeah.
And before we employ extra people, because the worst thing is you've got like a really big, cumbersome team and you've got people doing nothing.
Yeah.
So we try and we're trying to do as much as we can. So it hasn't actually been that demanding on the schedule yet.
Okay.
And I suppose because we've got a bit of experience now and we've seen this movie a few times.
Yeah.
When there's a electricity crisis at a building or whatever, it's not, you don't react to it like you do when you first have that problem. You know, then it's a major deal, and you run around like a lunatic, and you can't think clearly.
Yeah.
Now we try and be a bit more clever in our approach. So yeah, I mean, sleeping well, exercising.
Okay, cool. Your team.
Yeah.
These guys are some really talented people, man. I
Yeah.
know Dean Grant personally, and
Yeah.
I know what an animal he is
Yeah.
as a human being, and he's just a brilliant mind.
Yeah.
I suspect that your partners on the corporate finance side are the same.
Yeah.
Just hearing you speak about them, which is awesome. How important is that synergy between the four of you?
Yeah. Look, I mean, we the three of us, Warren, Travis, and I especially, kind of speak quite often about our partnership and how unique it is and how much we love it. And there's no egos. We argue with each other often about commercial aspects. We're quite different personalities, actually, which is quite nice. And we try. Everyone is humble enough to listen to the other person.
Love that.
Their best, I must say, I said to Dean the other day, Warren and Travis's best talent is they will never interrupt you. And I've often seen them, you know, when you're in a meeting and people are just interrupting and it's irritating, they will stop speaking and they will listen to the person. And it's been a lesson to me because I like to talk. It's been a lesson to me in how important just listening and understanding is. So we've got a great relationship. And then Dean coming to join us. You know, Dean and I know each other from Fishhook and from sport. Dean is a very good sportsman for somebody who looks so awkward. And I'll tell him that to his face. He's a very, very good sportsman, a great team player, and he's got three degrees. Dean's a legend. He's a hard worker. He's an up and comer.
Yeah.
He's gonna have a massive future.
No, he does.
So it's been cool to partner with him, and all of the guys are not scared to get their hands dirty.
Okay.
You know, we kind of treat it like if there's work to be done, you just do the work. If you're on holiday and the gate breaks at your house, you're on the phone, you're fixing the gate. That's how we approach it.
My gut says that 4 billion is going to become 7 or 8 billion quite soon.
Yeah.
And if I know anything about yourself and your team, I'm quite excited to see that happen. It's a tradition in the podcast to share good news and stories of companies and people who are doing good things in the world. I know that you are involved with a lot of social impact initiatives. And as a parting question, or just something that you wouldn't mind sharing, a company, person, or people doing good things in the world that our listeners could possibly look into as well.
Yeah, I would love them to look into the Ubuntu Football Trust. So they are a 25% shareholder of ours at Hangar 18.
So the 25% shareholder.
Yeah. So we, Warren, Travis, and I, via our entities, own 49.9%, and our other partners are Ubuntu, which is 25.7%, and then Jade Capital Partners, two ladies in Joburg, which is 24.3% or something. But the Ubuntu Trust is, it was started by two guys, Casey Prince and Mike Jenkins, in 2010, I think it was, and I became a trustee of them in around 2014. They wanted to start a social impact program. Casey's an American, Mike's a Zimbo, both living in Cape Town, and they wanted to start something social impact and have an education slant. So they were looking at different sports to try and allow people to kind of come into the education program via a sport. They realized very quickly that soccer is the most widely played sport, and they put together an elite football program where they would go and get kids out of the townships and then pay for their school fees, have them. It was initially they were educated at Sun Valley Primary School. And then they would do soccer training every day, and they played for the Ubuntu Football Academy. Anyway, that was 2010. I think their first intake was like 10 people.
Okay.
Now they've got their own school, their full-on own school. They've got about 80 kids who are in the school. They've got about 20 graduates in the States. They send a lot of the kids when they matriculate to the States. They've just had their first graduate from Dartmouth, which is an Ivy League school in the States. And he's gone on to work for BlackRock, which is the world's biggest asset manager. or one of the world's
And he's a
biggest.
good soccer player.
And he's an unbelievable soccer player. They've had, I think, at least 10 players playing for Bafana or the junior Bafana, like under 16,
Wow.
under 18. It's been a tremendous success, and they are like just hand on heart good oaks,
Yeah.
doing a really amazing impact. Their whole mission is the fatherless problem in South Africa is off the charts. And they think by mentoring people through sport, because they spend so much time with these children, that they can mentor them into how to be better fathers and have an impact on their own personal communities.
No way.
So when you hear these kids talk, you want to start to cry. It's like, it's amazingly inspirational. But every year they have to start budgeting on a zero base again.
Yeah.
You know, being a charity or an NGO is tougher. And so they've just got a nice grant now from some of the corporates. And so we support them. And if people ever want great feel good, almost like a tourism thing to do, go down to Komiki where they're based and go and watch the guys train, which is, it's impressive in itself. But then just to get a bit of, to get corporates out of the office and get them down there, and you can support boys. If you're an individual, you can chip in like $200 a month towards a team. You can follow players individually.
Awesome.
It's a super cool thing. They're great work, yeah.
Thank you so much for being on the podcast today. You've been amazing. We wish you all the best of luck in the next chapter of your journey. We'll be following closely.
Shot, man.
We'll see you on the side of the field at Ubuntu.
I hope so.
Thanks for coming.
Shot, man.
Cheers.